Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhair agale, ni hao, chunashumbe, washwale. Ohio Gonzaimas, Guten Morgen, Ola, Boyor, Privyet, Kaifahal, Hale Shuma Chatore, Ahlan Wasal, Marhaba, Buna, Mucho Gracias, Swabi, Balikre, Hoshgal, and Ayo Sayo, Kuya Morachivato, Chi Haljo, and a very warm welcome to each and every one of you who's tuned into PT World and the watching world this morning, alongside my very well learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajra Satti. I happen to be Shahzad Hasan Khan, and ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome and a very good morning. Hello Hajra, how are you doing today?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for introducing me. Jazakallah khair. So we have been joined by Shahzad Khan after I think almost a month, I guess so. And he's been traveling for quite some time, and Shahzad and I also maintain that traveling always broadens your horizon. So we're going to ask which places he has visited. Rich man, please tell the answer.
Well, you know, okay, so in the first place, I would like to respond where you said rich man, shukar alhamdulillah in the first place.
Alhamdulillah.
But I've been saving for the last 3 or 4 years, ladies and gentlemen, to, you know, cater with the exchange rate. And yes, obviously, so it was a wonderful trip, alhamdulillah, because number one, you know, I was traveling for medical reasons. Alhamdulillah, all my reports and samples and everything went well. You know, thanks to Allah Almighty, you know, for blessing us with good health as well. And that's what we hope for everybody who's out there. But other than that, you know, so every time while I was traveling for medical reasons, you know, I would go to United Kingdom. But this time around, I was like, okay, you know, it's been 8-9 years that, you know, after almost every year or 2 years I have to go. And, you know, so I end up being in the United Kingdom only, you know, so it'll be London, or it'll be Birmingham, or it'll be Manchester, or other places elsewhere as well, maybe Scotland, Wales. But then this time around, I thought that, okay, you know, since I've saved, Alhamdulillah, you know, what I should do is I should actually apply for a Schengen visa. And that's exactly what I did. And I was lucky enough to get the visa. You know, it was here in a week's time. And then what happened was...
I do remember that,
and then what happened was that, you know, first I landed in UK alongside my father. It was a wonderful trip alongside my father because, you know, when you see, you know, that you travel with your loved ones, it's actually a home in motion. You know, that's how I want to kind of resonate on that. But, you know, in addition to that, so I went on to... From there onwards, I went to Germany. In Germany, I went to Nuremberg, Regensburg, Munich. And then I'm glad that, you know, that one of my very dear friends who work for Continental Motors in Germany. So we took a, you know, we sat in his car, we went to Austria, then we went to Switzerland.
Okay, I have to stop you before you tell us your journey. Because in Germany, they have this promo sort of a campaign where they are giving €9 tickets to all the people of the Germany, all the tourists, and they can travel within that €9 ticket, the entire Germany. So did you avail that sort of a campaign?
No, I didn't really avail that, you know, so the only thing I availed was the benefit of having a friend and then relying on him as well, you know, so it was great of him that, you know, first up we left from Nuremberg, then ended up in Munich. In Munich, we since I'm a car enthusiast,
I know that,
went to BMW World, you know, saw the entire process over there, then went on to Austria, then went on to Switzerland. And people, you know, who say that...
So which is more prettier, Switzerland or Austria?
Islamabad. You know, that's one thing which I would want to say over here. And, you know, ladies and gentlemen, inshallah, tomorrow or day after tomorrow, we'll make sure that we share pictures and images as well. Because while I was in Switzerland, I thought to myself that, hey, you know what, Islamabad is way more prettier, you know, even after rain or before that as well. The architecture might be very different. And, you know, it might be because Islamabad is as clean as Switzerland. And that's what the thing was that, you know, while we were there, I could sense it, you know, while we were in Zurich, I could sense this that, you know, it is for elderly people to be in Switzerland. It's not really for the young people to be there.
Because they have a very different sort of a culture. Everything closes by 7, I think. And they do not have that sort of a nightlife that we have in Islamabad. And it's very bureaucratic, I find it, because and expensive too.
Exactly. So imagine that, you know, one steak, you know, which we ordered came in, and, you know, after the bill came in, we were like, okay, I think we made a wrong decision because one steak only costed €50 almost.
Oh my God.
We were like, okay, you know, we'll actually have to move on to fast food. But from there onwards, we came back to Austria, we went back to Germany, I took a flight to Holland. And then, so Holland was great, you know, because it was just around Easter.
The tulips.
And I was right in front of the central station, and as soon as I would step outside my hotel, it was so difficult to even walk because it was so rushy that I cannot even tell you. I was walking quite a lot, you know, 10 kilometers every day. The best part about Holland is that, you know, that more than their population, they have bicycles. You know, so every person would actually own 4 to 5 bicycles in their lifetime because they get stolen very easily. And they have the largest underground bicycle parking right under the central station as well, which is great. Then they have trams. They certainly do not love cars. And then right after trams shut down, buses come out as well. And everybody uses that. From there onwards, went on to Sweden. I was lucky enough to go to Google's office in Sweden as well, and Stockholm. And Sweden was a great place. So imagine that, you know, they only have a 4-day working week. They are the happiest in the happiness index as well.
I mean, as a visitor, when you watch Sweden, it might appear great, but a lot of people who went there actually for the studies there, because a couple of my friends went there and they were complaining that it's very dark and it's raining all the time and they don't get to see the sun that much, and especially coming from the South Asian background where we observe a lot of sun and that releases a natural dopamine or whatever, and you don't get to witness that in Sweden. So that friend complained me about that weather, and she said that she had to take the antidepressant because the weather is so gloomy all the time. But yes, I think they have a lot of welfare benefits because obviously it's a welfare state. So yes, continue.
So in addition to that, you know, thank you very much for reminding me about the weather. So I was lucky enough that wherever I went, it was sunny. So imagine that as soon as I was leaving Stockholm, it started to rain over there. And so the best part is because my father was traveling with me, and you know, so the elderly are obviously busy over here with kids and work and life, and you know, then they make sure that, you know, everybody's around. So imagine when he landed in England and I was in Germany, he called me up, my father. He's like, you know, you left me behind. I do not feel like living over here. I need to go back to Pakistan. I was like, what's wrong? And then the only problem was that, so the only weight you can carry in your baggage is 30 kgs for me and 30 kgs for my father. And I was like, you know, so for all of that stuff, you know, we are going to buy over here. I am not going to be able to bring it back. And then eventually we will end up paying for that as well, which we did. But
how much did you pay it, by the way?
I think so. Oh my God, that's a difficult question. So imagine, so me and my father, we were 11 kgs overweight. And so we had to pay 260 pounds, almost 100,000 rupees. And we didn't like it. So imagine that then what we did was just to counsel ourselves.
I mean, don't they give some sort of a free, I think 5 kg free
I mean, if it was PIA, you know, we might have asked them.
I think, not Emirates gave me, because when I went to Istanbul, so I was also overweight. Yes, up to 30 kg they do give, because the limit was around 25 kg and I was also overweight, so mine was around 28 or 29 something. But yes,
but they showed no mercy, so we ended up paying, and then we were like, okay, you know, let's get done with that as well. But it was a fantastic trip, alhamdulillah. So the major reason was to go for my medical checkups. Alhamdulillah, everything came back. And for all of those people who are out there who've been writing to me, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, that you've been asking over and over again, and it feels great to be loved by so many people out there. But you know, as over here on PTV World, we make sure that we change perspectives. So today, what are we doing, Haja? Please go ahead.
Alhamdulillah, thank you so much for saying that, because we want to kickstart our first segment, and we're going to talk about a very important topic. It's a very different sort of a topic, because startups is a thing, especially in the 21st century after the digitalization. The pace has kicked up, and a lot of people, young people, they are aspiring for the entrepreneurship, for the startups, because obviously the old paradigm asked for the jobs, but now a lot of people are switching over, and obviously it's a more lucrative field. And how does the women empowerment or the youth empowerment equation fills into this entire mathematical equation? So we are very lucky that we have been joined by a wonderful guest who happens to be Rabia Agha Armaghan. She is the CEO and the founder of the E-Educators. She is also looking forward and working with the startups and digital entrepreneurship. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much for having me.
First of all, it's an honor to actually host you over here. It's because of the fact that it's very rare to see women making sure that, you know, that they're going to provide platforms to other women out there, you know, make sure that, you know, that whatever challenges they have come across in life, they do not want other people to go through all of those challenges. That's beautiful. We'll come back to that. But let's talk about E-Educators in the first place. Whose brainchild idea was that? You know, how did it came into being? Why did you do it? And do you think that it is out there for people to make sure that there's lesser gender gap, gender inequality? How do you think it's going to be?
And also the name suggests it has to do with the academia or education, but that's a wrong perception, right?
Yeah, that's a wrong perception. Basically, E-Educators, the E stands for electronic education. So the idea was that I was in a job, and I was facing so many problems because I wanted to do something different, and I was not satisfied with the education system. So I created my own courses and I just launched them online, and I started it before COVID-19. It was pre-COVID, and people had no idea, no concept about the online education.
True.
So it was really challenging for me, and I wanted to do something out of the box.
Okay.
So the main concept was to bring a revolution, change in the lives of others, because I was passionate to help others, and I wanted to do something for people, and I wanted to convey the practical knowledge basically, because when I was in a job, I realized that the education system is not the practical one. So I wanted to provide that platform to the people, specifically the university students and the female entrepreneurs.
Right.
So
and that's wonderful. There's one more thing which I would want to ask you over here, which is why I'm cutting you short. I'm very sorry for that. We don't do it, but so when we say digital platform for entrepreneurs, now what happens is that when we speak about digital platforms, there's thousands of digital platforms out there. Some are for learning, some are for brainstorming. People do live sessions together and whatnot. So when we speak about e-educators, what sort of a digital platform is it? Is it only for students? Is it for entrepreneurs? Is it for people to do more businesses, get together, meet and greet? What sort of a platform is this?
okay. This is actually we are working with two categories.
Okay.
One is female entrepreneurs who are staying at their homes, and basically I have a background of a small city, Sialkot. So
Not
I
really
know the
small
problem.
City, though. Sialkot is a very famous city. Their own businessmen develop their own airport. Make sure that that's the kind of business which is taking place.
We are proud of that. That is why those germs of Sialkotis are in me. So I initiated this platform for the whole Pakistan, and I helped a lot of female entrepreneurs who wanted to pursue their careers, but they were not given the opportunities to pursue their careers. So I just wanted to give them the platform where they can polish their skills and enhance their talents. And Shehzad, that the biggest problem is that we are not encouraged by the society. So I wanted to give them that platform where they could be encouraged by us and by my team, and we encouraged them, and we told them that they have the potential and they can do their best.
True.
So in any society, if you want the society to be successful, you have to encourage the females especially. True. Because they are the largest part of your population. We are 46.9% of Pakistani population. So I was basically focused on those ones. True. Because I know the problems and I know the pains they go through while staying at home. As a female, I had many dreams, and I had so many plans that I wanted to do something for the society, because we are having two kinds of jobs. We are working at our homes, and we want to do something for the society. Basically, the perception is that the Pakistani women, they have to stay at their home and take care of their children and families.
That's true.
But I believe that they can do the both things simultaneously. So we provided those females who wanted to do something and who wanted to discover themselves.
Right.
So I was successful enough, alhamdulillah, and I have created a lot of success stories, and that is my dream, and that is so fulfilling. And
we would want you to share one of the success stories from your digital platform as well. As a story, if a university student came on, enrolled with your course, what did they learn, and then how did they make sure that they're going to change their lives around, making sure that they feel more empowered and they have those technicality or the technical skill to make sure that to earn money, because everybody wants to earn money on internet these days.
Absolutely.
As well. So please go ahead, share a success story.
Okay, I have a lot of success stories, but one is that there were moderator in the sessions, because we have live interactive sessions. So there were some moderator who were not even the students, and they were not joined by the course. So they were listening to my story, my sessions, and they were inspired, and they started their own startups. Wonderful. So that was amazing. And the moderator, he just messaged me, and he told me that, ma'am, I am earning $40,000 per month.
Mashallah.
So I was amazed. I was amazed.
Looking for you now.
Yeah. So my passion is to let them achieve their goals, and
Alhamdulillah, that's a wonderful thought, because obviously when we talk about internet is a great leveler. It's an enabler because it has enabled a lot and empowered a lot of people around the globe. And it has totally changed the dimensions when we talk about the internet and the digitalization. But obviously in Pakistan, the penetration of the internet is not that great, right? So there are a lot of women who do not have access to. So first thing that comes into mind is maybe the people who are residing in the rural areas, they do not have access to it. But no, there are a lot of people in the urban areas. Those do not have the access to it, right? So how are you making sure that internet remains an enabler, not a divider, especially coming from your background?
Okay, so internet is available everywhere, but on some places they don't have the access.
Yes.
But you know, and those who have the access, they are using it not in a right way.
We're just watching TikTok videos.
YouTube on dramas. So my main focus was to divert them towards some productive activity.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that is why I just wanted the females to stop watching the dramas and create their own own lives, and that was the main idea behind it.
How successful are you in this?
I am very successful in it, because I have witnessed a lot of people who really want to do something. The main problem is that self-discovery.
Yes.
So we just try to tell them that they are something and they have some potential and they have to find them. So we have designed some special courses for the self-discovery.
Okay.
So we have some forms, and they fill the forms, and then they come to know about after the questions that what they are capable of.
But you're also encouraging a lot of entrepreneurship, right? So we have this old paradigm where people are more sticking towards the job because job guarantees you the security, but obviously an entrepreneurship is a more risky job, right? So how do you, I mean, go through that and break that mindset, you know, from switching from the job to the entrepreneurship? Because a lot of entrepreneurs or the entrepreneurships, they fail in the first glance, right?
Absolutely. Entrepreneurship is a very struggling journey.
That's true.
And it's not easy.
That's true.
You should be patient, you should be consistent, you should be persistent, then you can get success. So basically, when I started it, and when I came into this field, and when I started, but you know what, entrepreneurs are become success accidentally. So accidentally, I became an entrepreneur.
Probably because of a need, because necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Absolutely. So I came into this field accidentally, because I wanted to create something, and I just met some people who were misguiding people on online education and things like that. So I came here to protect other people from such kind of, you know,
Exactly. And in addition to that, what I would want to ask you over here is, you know, so obviously you've been successful, you've been all over Pakistan as well, and I would certainly want to ask you about your international, you know, ambitions as well. But before I do so, do you still watch dramas, or you don't watch dramas now?
No, I hardly watch dramas.
That's so wrong. So
life has become a drama.
Okay, so as a working lady, how do you entertain yourself? You know, so you know, is it good for you to read a book just by yourself, probably just relax, or whenever you get time, sleep? You know, so how do you make sure that you keep yourself entertained as well alongside your work?
You know, the best entertainment, it's not called entertainment, but I keep myself busy reading and writing.
Wonderful.
And especially reading Quran.
Wow.
And the tafsir of Quran. So it makes me so empowered, and I feel so blessed, and I feel so fulfilled. And I just put those messages from Quran into my courses. So I can guarantee you that I have some different kind of courses, because they are connected with the human soul and the human the philosophy of life and the philosophy of Quran.
And you know what I was able to get, or what the audience was able to get, is that inshallah, you know, if they enroll in your course, you know, there'll be self-discovery, you know, you'll be in connection with religion and what the Quran tells you to do. And you know, so obviously it looks like as if it's going to be very holistic sort of a course where you're going to learn everything. But now let's come down to, you know, where, you know, you made sure that, you know, you're going to collaborate with others as well. So imagine that, you know, one of your collaborations was with, you know, Kamyab Pakistan. You know, how did it go, and why do you think that for e-educators, it's important or imperative to have these collaborations?
Actually, in our society, it's when being a female entrepreneur, it's very important to get some powerful networking and to get some powerful connections. That is why I think credibility means a lot. So for my credibility, I have to collaborate with different organizations like Chamber of Commerce's and Khushhali Kamyab Center. So it was a great experience, and I just met the young girls, and they are full of talent and they are full of dreams, but they don't have the platform that where can they get their skills polished and even identify their skills.
True.
So we identify their potential, and we encourage them to start their journey and convert their passion into profession.
But as a working woman, there are a lot of problems that women face, especially when they're leaving their houses, because I think you can understand that, I can understand that if you face harassment on the streets or on the workplace, so what your ghar wala are going to say is that, leave your job because there's a lot of...
We don't say anything.
Yeah.
We don't say anything. We want women to work.
Okay, so how many people are like there out there, right? But
हाथ बढ़ाएं, बल्कि और बाकी घर में भी हाथ बढ़ाएं.
Right, that's a wonderful lesson. But having said so, obviously a lot of women face these sort of a problem, the access to mobility, and that is why they remain inside their houses. And this is where the internet comes in, because it empowers them, ghar baithe baithe kaam kamana and whatever,
Absolutely.
right? So how do you make sure that, especially when you talk about the networking and when you talk about the women get together, and they, so this obstacle or challenge that we are talking about is resolved?
Okay, so technology is magic, and technology is transforming lives.
Yeah.
So the technology is very powerful tool for the woman who is sitting at home, and for the networking, we provide them the opportunities online. So we have a very good community online, and we all connect on the phone and laptops through the gadgets, and we have a very powerful circle of powerful ladies.
Yeah.
So I have different friends, different entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs friends, and I connect them with the females sitting in the rural areas.
Yeah.
So basically my focus is to help that woman who is sitting in the rural area, and she has skills, she has potential, and but she does not know how to utilize her skills and her potential to empower her economically.
And is it challenging, because a lot of time people perceive it that this is the interference in their family life or the routine life, because obviously you might face a lot of challenges.
Absolutely.
Yes,
a lot of challenges, but with the passage of time, people start understanding, because you have to be, I told you in the beginning that you have to be patient, and an entrepreneur has to face a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges, and I love to accept challenges. So that is the spirit that keep me moving on, and I just try to use my positive energy, and I just try to transfer it to others, because it's very important.
And it's wonderful as well. But now, if we are to kind of talk in detail about your courses as well, I think it revolves around customer services more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, when we speak about customer service, obviously over here we do face dilemma that, unfortunately, if you go into a government office, or if you go into a private office, it's very different. Public and private, it's very different. In private institutions, you'll go, there'll be a gentleman or a lady who's going to welcome you, make you comfortable over there, do rest of the work, paperwork for you. In a government organization, if you're going to go, they'll send you to one office, then they'll send you to another office, then they'll make sure that, that you're collecting documents and whatnot. So when we talk about customer service, and your courses are certainly based on that, what are the fundamentals of customer services, just for the people to know why should they be enrolling for your course, so that's something, if you're going to let us know the fundamentals of the customer service, I think that'll be great for us.
Yeah, thank you so much for providing me this opportunity to tell the people.
Sure.
Okay, so customer services, is our signature program, and the fundamental is humanity and empathy, because empathy is very important.
Yep.
And we lack empathy in our society. That's why we see on daily basis, we see a lot of incidents, because we lack empathy. So whenever you think about somebody going into their shoes, then you get to know about their pain. So feeling the pain of the other person or the customer, and the customer psychology. Basically, these courses are based on customer psychology and the ethics. And as I told you about the Quranic education, so we try to add those things which are basic education by Allah Ta'ala, Allah Almighty. So these are the fundamentals of our courses.
And it's wonderful and it's great as well. But thank you very much, Miss, for being with us. You know, lovely to be in conversation with you early in the morning, where you're actually making sure that a lot of people, just by sitting at home on their computers, can actually earn a great livelihood, be empowered, and you know, you're making sure that there's not going to be any gender disparity out there as well. I think every drop does matter, and for people who are out there, ladies and gentlemen, all you need to do is that you really need to kind of go onto your computer, make sure that you go to type in www.educators.org, and make sure that you start working, learn, and then make sure that you know, kind of reflect on those things or those values which we've learned from those courses as well. Everybody decides for themselves, but very quickly towards the end, because what you said over here, that's something which I would want to share. So imagine while I was traveling, Hajra, so you know, as soon as I got out from the Hollands airport, you know, in Amsterdam, so you know, there were people chanting taxi, 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 and I was like, why not? Hey, you know what, let's go. So I hopped in and I was like, how much? He said 80 euros. And I was like, no, that's too much, 50 euros. You know, the way everybody is, you know, you learn with time. And then he was like, no, can't do 50, you know, so 70 euros. And I was like, okay, let's go. You know, so I went to my hotel, and as soon as I checked in, you know, so there was a lady at the reception. I was like, how much does it normally charge for a cab driver to, you know, bring us from the airport to over here? And the gentleman who was driving the cab, his name was Imran. And he was from Morocco as well. And so she said, you know, it's only going to cost you 50 euros, something of that. So I thought, okay, 20 euros gone. And then, you know, so later that night, I booked another Uber and I went on to the pickup place. And, you know, so I was waiting on my cell phone that, okay, I cannot see the registration number of the car. And all of a sudden, there's this guy, Rashid, who comes in and he's like, Shehzad. I was like, yes. He was like, why don't you cancel the ride and I will take you for less? I was like, wow, that's wonderful. The gentleman is here to help me. And I ended up paying more. So the only thing which I wanted to tell you over here is that there were two people I've met on this entire tour who were Muslims and were fraudulent with their words and were fraudulent with the kind of service they were providing. And this was so unfortunate for me to see that maybe anybody who's a Christian or a Jew or anyone I've met, you know, certainly wasn't fraudulent in any way of their lives. And it was unfortunately these two Muslims who caught me, who made sure that they wanted to take off more money off me as well. And that's not something how we would want to project our religion.
That's true.
So ladies and gentlemen, please make sure, because it's an individual attribute of a person to, you know, to kind of be or to do such an activity. But I think, you know, so at large, we cannot certainly be labeling everybody about that. But people, you really need to be careful about it. You know, the religion you follow, make sure that you follow it with all your heart. We're going for a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Good morning. Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying tuned. And for everybody who just tuned in, ladies and gentlemen, you tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning alongside Ms. Hajra Satti. I happen to be Shehzad Hasan Khan. Today happens to be my first day after a month-long break. You know, it was lovely to be in conversation with Ms. Rabia, talking about e-educators. But now, you know, I have an example to share, you know, which will actually hint you or take you towards what we will be talking about in this segment. So imagine that, you know, so I always make sure that, you know, whatever my life decisions are, I share them with my father. And obviously, he's your best advisor anyways as well. It's only your father who would actually want you to grow, you know, beyond where he has been as well. So imagine, you know, one day I was talking, you know, about something and my career, and he was like, Putter, you know, it's always best to have one thing in hand better than two in bushes. And I was like, why would you say so? It was like that, you know, God forbid, you know, if you're going to jump from one place to another and it didn't really work out for you, I think it's going to be very chaotic. And so he said that, you know, continue with the one you're doing, look for another option. And while I was reading Jordan Peterson as well, you know, he said, because there is a similarity in chaos and being settled as well. So imagine that one leg, you really need to make sure that it's where you're settled, and one leg really needs to be in chaos where you're actually figuring out new options for yourself. But that's not certainly what happens, ladies and gentlemen. People do come in, people perform, people leave. Organizations make sure that that they retain their employees. Sometimes organizations make sure that they certainly do not retain a number of employees as well. Key performances indices are actually kind of monitored as well, and then there's a lot of attrition which takes place these days as well. People are becoming entrepreneurs, they're making sure that they're going to leave behind their jobs and be a newer person. And it's a difficult journey. So how does all of that happen? I think that's something which I would want to talk about.
And that's very true. And Shahzad, recently I was reading this thing, I think in the Economist magazine or something, that a lot of companies, especially in the Europe, they want to retain the employees because obviously their population is decreasing and they do not have a lot of young people in their population. So they are doing giving a lot of incentives to recruit the people or make sure that they retain them. But obviously we're going to talk more about it because we have an expert in the studio here who is going to shed some light on this topic. So we're very glad that we have been joined by Dr. Ali Raza Nemati, who happens to be management consultant and corporate trainer. Assalamu alaikum and thank you so much for coming.
Walaikum assalam. It's a lovely topic you've chosen for today.
Thank you so much for recommending it to us as well, and it's wonderful to kind of talk about it because each and every one of us goes through this, in their lifetime, probably multiple times as well. That, hey, what, yaar, main soch raha hu, naukri chhod do, महंगाई बड़ी होगी, तनख्वाह नहीं बढ़ा रहे. All of these issues are very common, and people face that, especially in today's time. Because imagine that, first thing, obviously, it's not only in Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, it's everywhere. I just witnessed it, maybe Europe, maybe England, it's everywhere. And people are looking for better options. But let's talk about, why do you think people think that it's best for them to leave an organization? Do you think it's a great idea for them to think?
Okay, so let me build a little base on that, right? So we've got different generations, right? We must have gone through that, of course, Generation X, Generation Y, Generation the Millennials, Generation Z, and now it's Generation Alpha.
Bilkul.
So just take out Generation Alpha because they're not in the market right now with respect to jobs. So we talk about Generation Z and Millennials, right? So technically me, Shahzad, maybe somehow are the Generation Zs and the Millennials, So research talks about that, right? For example, they say that, of course, a person for the Generation Z works for around 3 years in a similar job. And then the person feels that the job is redundant now, so I need to have a change. Whether it's a bicycle, it's a job, or anything else in your life, right? So, and now if we talk about Millennials, it has reduced to 18 months. So, of course, after 18 months, you feel like you should have a change. So it's more of a behavioral trait. Now we see in Millennials and in Generation Z is that, of course, we need to change the job. However, the organizations need to focus that, of course, they need to let them grow in their current career. For example, if they see themselves growing the current career, then, of course, they may continue. And also sometimes, people see that, of course, they are competent enough. They should not be micromanaged. We hire the best of the people and then we tell them what to do, right? It is as like, first they hire you for the hosting and they tell you this is how you need to host, this is how you need to talk, this is how you need to do. So this is something the organizations and the employees need to get together with respect to the career they see. For example, if you hire a person, it is a research again. If you, for example, let me take an example of the hosting right now. So if you hire a person, it may take around 1.5 months to be that productive in that respective organization to understand the mission, vision, the culture.
And for the organization to understand whether he or she is okay for us or not.
True. So, of course, then organizations need to set the KPIs. We call it key performance indicators. It may be a separate discussion, but of course, if you see that the person is not performing, that organization need to put him to a PIP, performance improvement plan, rather than saying, of course, this is curtains for you.
If they want to retain him only.
In case, yes.
Yeah, or her.
So, of course, otherwise it's curtain for the person, right? But of course, we need to have a similar goal to be seen by the organization and the employee to reach some place. Otherwise, if you do not show something, for example, you ask a kid, of course, you're going to get A grade, I'm going to buy you a bicycle, right? So this is how you going to show an employee that, of course, you achieve this, you're going to get a promotion, you're going to get a bonus, you're going to get such kind of a remuneration.
So Aja, we do all the good work, but we get paid same. I think that's what it is.
That's true. So, Dr. Ali, let's talk about the different cultures, for example, and in different generations. So, for example, let's talk about the Millennials or Generation Z. So, they may not like to be that much suited, booted. They are more,
laid back.
Yeah, I mean, happy or satisfied in the more jeans and, you know, Snickers, where they're comfortable, but they're also working very hard, especially on their laptops. But obviously the baby boomers or the more sort of a bureaucratic generation where they feel that you need to be more suited, booted, and you need to work and stuff like that. So how do you feel? Are the organization adapting to this sort of a change, or do they still see it, you know, that they need to adapt to their own standards?
Okay, let me quote an example. Right? I hope you have seen the downfall of Nokia, you know, if you remember. Nokia used to be the best brand, you know. Used to carry, you have got a Nokia phone.
3310i.
Yes. So I remember the Nokia CEO on the TV. What really went wrong for you? So he said, we just only couldn't adapt to the change, and then he cried on the television.
Yes.
So of course, the companies are now, were in a fix before, but now they're not. Because they are now, with respect to the people
in Pakistan also?
Yes, of course, they are changing the dynamics. I've seen the COVID has broken all the shackles, right? Of course, they now they're allowing people working from home, and there are working from home policies. There are meetings now scheduled on, of course, different softwares, that is Zoom and Microsoft Teams. And of course, now organizations are working as per the dynamics. So let me take an example to you. For example, if I'm a director HR at an organization, right? So I am very careful about the fact that, of course, it takes so much effort for me to recruit a person for a specific position. For example, let me take an example again for the hosting. For example, in case one of you leave this organization. So for a director HR or an HR person, it's very difficult to find a person to, you know, first long list, then short list, then initial interviews, then final interviews, and then hiring a person, and the person leaves in 2 months. So it's so much cost involved in recruitment. This is the reason why employers now are focusing on retention and reducing their attrition rate. So for audience, you know, I would like to tell, attrition rate is the person left in a single year. For example, you've got 100 people, and of course 5 left, so it's 5% attrition rate. So it should not be more than 5%, of course, in case people leave. And people should not leave your organization. The more they stay with an organization, the more beneficial.
So what do you think the organizations need to do to make sure that they're going to retain all of those employees which they've invested so much time and money on?
Yes, true. So now that sometimes the investment remains intangible. For example, of course, the organizations and the supervisors do not see that. They invested so much time on the people. They've now gelled in with respect to the mission and the vision of the organization. So now what they need to do? So I just count on fingers 3 main things. Number 1, stop micromanagement. And this is the main thing. Micromanagement is one of the things which Generation Z and millennials do not like.
That's true.
So if you want them to stay and want them to meet and exceed your expectation and going extra mile for you, stop micromanagement.
छोटे-छोटे मसले ना निकालें, please. अब आगे चलते.
Okay. Second, of course, show them a career, right? Of course, so they should be seen. They should see a career ladder. For example, their officers, and they should see that how can they be promoted to assistant managers. If they achieve this, they'll be assistant managers. If they achieve this, they'll be managers, right? Number 2. Number 3, you need to set objective standards, not subjective. For example, आप मुझे अच्छे नहीं लगते. So this is a subjective thing, right? I feel you do not speak right. So it's just a subjective thing. You need to set standards. So this is what we say, key performance indicators. For example, you know, your program must have this kind of viewers. This is a objective indicator. You know, this much viewers you should have on YouTube. This is an objective indicator, right? So you need to set objective indicators so that once you sit on the table of performance evaluation in the year end, so you should not, you know, collide with each other.
But don't you think that's very, it puts a lot of pressure on the employees to achieve that objective?
Well,
it should be there, yeah. I think it should be there.
I feel this takes out the pressure. For example, if my father knows what I need to become, so he'll be happy. So it is easy for me. Tu, matlab, you know, he says, "Tu bada aadmi ban ja." So bada aadmi is a subjective term. So what is a bada aadmi?
Thank you so much for saying that, because you know, I think this is something which all of us probably have been through. You know, even if we call ourselves Gen Z or millennials, ladies and gentlemen, I think everybody gets to hear this in their lifetime. Beta bada aadmi bano, bada aadmi. And now, obviously, it's very subjective. You certainly do not know what bada aadmi is, and bada aadmi for anybody can be so different from different walks of life. We will have this conversation probably one day. Inshallah, we'll set it up. You know, bada aadmi or beta padhoge nahi to chapadasi lag jaoge. God forbid, you know, things like that. But now let's take to this as well. When do you think it's the right time for a person to leave an organization?
Okay.
But ठीक है यार, बस हो गई, अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मैं कुछ और बेहतर करना चाहता हूँ.
Normally I sit on a different seat, so you know I just talk about retaining employees. But Okay, so just let me wear another hat, right?
Sure.
So as an employee, no, one is you're not respected.
Okay.
No, let me tell you about a research. I used to think that of course the political situation or the financial situation of of a country may lead you to leave a job.
Yeah.
But then I have had a survey myself and then a research.
Right.
People do not leave for remuneration normally. People leave because of bad bosses.
Okay.
So people do not leave organizations; they leave bosses.
True.
So if you feel like, of course, this is pain in the neck for you. So, and of course you cannot continue, and of course you cannot give you 100%, right?
Yeah.
This is the right time, of course, you switch. But of course you should switch being a gentleman, of course, with the proper transition.
Right.
And I've seen, people get very reactive. They should be responsive to a situation.
Yeah.
And then should tell, of course, the boss, of course, I've got another job. I'm going to serve a notice period, then I switch. But of course, when should they switch? Number one, mental comfort. They feel like discomfort mentally. Second, they've got a good opportunity with respect to the career ladder.
True.
For example, let me take an example. If you're a manager, and of course you have, and it's a blockade for you.
Yeah.
Of course, you cannot be a director until the director dies, right? So it means the career ladder finishes for you.
Yes.
A lot of people might be waiting for their directors to go for it. Yeah,
this is where HR comes in. This is my area, right? Where you need to create succession planning, career ladders, of course, right career paths for people, where they stay. Once you show them something that, of course, why do you need to stay, they're going to stay.
Yeah.
If you do not show a path to succeed, to grow, of course, they won't succeed. Of course, they won't stay in your organization.
True.
So basically, if you take my expert opinion, that is not the remuneration, it's the culture. They leave for a better opportunity and the career ladder they see.
And don't you think, so in connection to this, don't you think that people really need to kind of understand, sit back and realize that, okay, if I've worked in an organization for 5 years, how much even financially I've earned, or, where do you think I stand financially, economically, what have I learned, how much my exposure was? Do you think all of these are the attributes people need to think about, or are we missing out on any?
100%, this is right, of course. Once you step up the career ladder, your perks and privileges get greater, right? So this is what I'm saying. So once you show that person a career ladder, for example, you get 100-liter fuel for a manager and you get 200-liter fuel for an assistant director. So automatically you not say that, of course, we're going to give you fuel, we're going to give you 20,000 rupees extra. Yeah. This is, something not the HR language, right? But we always say that, of course, you're going to grow, you're going to get promoted, you're going to get this. And then, of course, once you get promoted, rather than you doing things from your hand, you get in a supervision role you desire,
Right.
You get a manager, you being a director, right? So you manage things then. You grow strategically, mentally. And of course, one thing very important for the people seeing me right now, switch jobs where you feel you grow psychologically, strategically, and of course, do not only switch organization with respect to their names.
Okay.
Right.
That is very important, right? Of course, where you see, of course, the comfort is very important. I believe me, many people come to me for counseling, of course, with respect to career and everything, and they say that, sir, the only thing we are getting insomniac. Of course, we cannot sleep, and of course, we are not excited to go to the office.
True.
Yes.
The reason is, of course, the discomfort. Even if you give them $1,000 more, they're not going to stay in the office.
All right, and one last thing, before I conclude this conversation, and then you can move on with your questions, Haja, as well, and that is that, obviously for anybody, it's their right, kind of decide a better life for themselves. What is the right time to leave a job? Because imagine that you will be putting it on your CV as well. So imagine people, because, Rolling Stone gathers no moss, so we all remember that. So imagine if I'm going to write that, that, okay, I was previously working with this channel, left it in 6 months. I was working with this channel, left it in 8 months. And, we've seen a lot of people who were very credible, even on television, because we've been giving examples of hosts. And just because of the fact that they were changing too many channels, now nobody listens to them, unfortunately, and that's certainly a problem. So what is the right time for anybody to decide? How many years do you think that, other than, if you're getting a good job or opportunity, do you think that, you should have been working 2 years or 3 years? Is it enough time? How do we go about that?
Okay, so I just divide into two chunks, right? So the people who are not managers, they should be working for an organization at least for 3 years.
Okay.
Of course, I've interviewed around 20,000 people in my life, hired many people in my life. So seeing the resume, we only take normally 45 seconds to a minute skimming the resume, right? And just shortlisting it, right? Okay, fine, the person is eligible to be interviewed or even not, right? So with all that pool booting on the CVs and everything. So that's again a separate discussion, so we can host a program. So for the people who are manager and above, and of course they carry the relevant brand with themselves. For example, XYZ is a person who switches a channel or an organization, carries a brand that of course people know that of course that person has joined that respective organization. He may stay for at least around 2 years, 1.5 and 2 years in these current scenarios, at least, right? Switching before an year, it's a very negative connotation to your CV. And of course, we say you recently of course come from Germany, so it's hop and hoff, right? No, it's in hop and hoff like attitude, like for there's a bus of course known as. So, so it feels like of course the person only is selfish about the remuneration or maybe the grade the person is saying, and that has no ending. So it means that gives a negative image, and of course we call it a flight risk. So we tag it a flight risk. Of course that person has a flight risk, so let this person not be hired. So this gives a negative connotation if we've got a tie in an interview.
And then do you think that can be a hurdle for them to grow in an organization if they are being hired and the organization is desperate to have somebody? So would you keep a check on that person that he can probably be in flight mode any day, so make sure that, we do not take him to a level where, unfortunately, we might have to pay the cost.
Okay, so again, I need to divide it. So the question is very good. So there are two kind of roles. One is a software role, one is a technical role. You are in a technical position. Everybody cannot speak in front of people, right? So this is a technical role. If a person, I do have a technical role as well. So it's a human resource, it's a technical job.
Yes.
For the people who are technical in nature and they do have expertise, so you hire them for your expertise rather than getting only the administrative work done. So once you hire people for expertise, set objective standards and let them achieve them without micromanagement.
Okay.
If you try to manage them, then they feel irritated, they feel agitated.
Yes.
Of course, and then they say, of course, we are not given the liberty to work and perform and make tangible impact. So then of course they technically then start revising their CVs, and then as they start sending their CVs to friends, of course I'm in a switch, I would like to have a switch. And then of course you normally in Pakistan, for a person who's competent, can easily get a job. And if I say a statement here, and you can of course it's a concrete statement, people say that there are no jobs in the market. There are a hell of jobs available in the market right now. If I say there are around if as per the Ministry of IT, it's around 100,000. They need 100,000 people right now for IT, but we do not have the right people, right skill set.
And people who actually know how to kind of work around IT, I think that they're doing their own jobs and work as well. So they're like, why to do a job when we can do it ourselves? I think that's the dilemma over here as well.
Yes, but let's build on something which you said, because you're hiring a lot of people. So what are the qualities that you look in a person who wants to get recruited? Because obviously now we've seen that some of the work of the HR is also delegated to the automation machines, because they are, sifting through the CVs and then it's going to the HR department. So if someone is applying or sending you CV, so what are the tips and tricks?
So first, for example, if you do not know the person and the person is sending a CV.
Okay, knowing the person is also.
Let me summarize it, because it's my favorite topic right now. So first, your CV should be attractive not in the sense of the hashia you do that. Right? Of course, not of course the bold fonts. It should be attractive. For example, it should be clear. For example, if I need to see that, what is your education? I don't need to just dive into it. Of course, we need to read everything. So it should be heading, education, employee experience, any certification, and the relevance. And also, you need to attach a cover letter or an initial paragraph that why do you want a job? Dear sir / madam, and of course send it to all. It's not an Eid's message, of course, it's your CV. And of course, I've seen people replying Khair Mubarak to the people.
And thank you very much for saying that as well. Luckily or unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we're short on time as well. It's always lovely to have Dr. Saab over here and have this sort of a conversation, because it feels like as if he's had like 2 cups of coffee early in the morning. Every time you go to see him, may it be midnight, may it be early in the morning, that's the kind of energy he shares with each and every one of us as well. It's wonderful to have you over here once again, and happens to be a childhood buddy of my childhood buddy as well, so I think it's great. Hop and Hoff, ladies and gentlemen. And so thank you so much once again for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation. I think that all of these valuable recommendations from Dr. Saab, ladies and gentlemen, use them if you think you are in the right position. We've made sure that we kind of identify for you so that you are enabled, and that you realize that, okay, whether I am in the right position or the right direction or not, and take the decision, and make sure that you trust in Allah in the first place. Have that faith, Please make sure that you live your life with that faith, and you will see that, things will start to happen for each and every one of us. For now, I think, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bid you a favor. Make sure that you write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of
World This Morning.
On Twitter.
World This Morning.
On Daily Motion and YouTube,
World This Morning.
And the fabulous repeat is going to be at
4 o'clock.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.